Welcome, welcome. This is the first podcast for us, photography podcast. My name is Norman Balian. Here is Michael Selinger.
Mhm.
We're going to do this weekly podcast about photography and also about a lot of subjects in general. This is our first podcast test that we're going to broadcast on YouTube. And from now on, we're going to be like weekly talking about this, etc. So in today's podcast, we're going to talk about for beginners photography, all about beginner photography, what the beginner photography, what you can do, how to improve your photography as a beginner, how to start your photographer journey the most easiest way possible. We're both photographers. Me, I present myself, Norman Balian, photographer, graphic designer, and did a lot of marketing and stuff like that. Michael Singer, he's a wedding photographer, also graphic designer, and he's been in the business for very long. Both of us has been in business of photography for very long. So we're with this podcast, we're trying to help the new photographers in their journey to give as much knowledge as possible to the watchers.
Yeah.
So yeah, Michael. So for beginner photographers, what do you think like the biggest challenge in your experience when talking with beginner photographers?
Um, I so the thing about being a beginner is, or I think the thing about being a photographer in general is that you're never like you should always be taking the time to learn. I think that's a general life rule, but especially, um, I think it's I think that case is especially so in photography.
Hmm.
When you're a beginner photographer, I think the big thing um to really get into photography to make it something that you really want to do
Hmm.
is to really just approach it as a creative element in your life. um Everybody wants to be a professional photographer, or everybody who starts and catches the photography bug, I think wants to make money off of it, and we're seeing it more and more now
Hmm.
the with the introduction or the continued proliferation of um, uh, social media, TikTok, and sort of influencer stardom. Um, but I think the big thing that everybody needs to realize is that you just gotta want to do it for fun. You want to do it because you want to,
Hmm.
and I think that's the first step to being just a beginner photographer is do it because you want to. Don't make it a thing that you feel like you have to do. So I think that's the first step.
Okay. And specifically with wedding photography, what do you suggest people who is going to start in the wedding photography, the beginners in wedding photography, how to start it, how to get into it, what is the first steps?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the big thing about starting as a wedding photographer, I would say, is to speak to the right people,
Mm-hmm.
build your network. Um, when you start talking to the right people who are willing to um, invest in you and to help you grow, that's where you're going to really start seeing some growth. Truly, um, I had the opportunity to work with a photographer who was or still is uh, a very strong photographer in the industry, and he invested a lot of energy into showing me how to be a better photographer,
Mm-hmm.
and I appreciate that, and I thank him for that. um and I think it's not always the case. You're not always going to find a photographer that's really willing to uh
Mentor you.
yeah, mentor you, treat you the right way. There's a lot of photographers that are
Exactly.
kind of one and dones, and they'll just kind of get you doing whatever contracts for them, which is fine. That truly, that's one way to go about it, is to just build your network for as large as you want, or as wide as you can, and try to get all these little contracts here and there until you feel comfortable enough to kind of fly on your own, do it on your own, and then, move on from there.
Also,
Yeah.
I was watching TikToks and Instagram and all the time. I'm watching, and there's a lot of advisors. There's a lot of mentors out there. One of them mentioned that it's very interesting. It mentioned that the first three weddings you can offer like free three weddings.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard quite a few people say that, and quite a few of the photographers that I've worked with have mentioned that the way they started off was like, oh well, I'll give you, I'll do my first wedding for you for free, or you never say it's my first wedding, but you say,
Yeah,
oh yeah, because you're whatever, you're a friend. Generally, the people that kind of contact you at first are usually people that you know. So you
friends
kind
and
of go,
family.
yeah, that's it, right?
Yeah,
So you go, oh, well, because you're the person that I'll, I'll give it to you. It's on the house. Um, the
to build a
Yeah,
portfolio.
to build a portfolio, to build a network, because ultimately the wedding industry is a word of mouth business. Um, Love it or hate it, unfortunately, or I guess it is the way it is. Um,
Yeah.
and it really is an opportunity to build your network so quickly,
Hmm.
because generally those weddings are, you know, 300, let's say, or two to three, at least in the Montreal area.
Yes.
Um, there's about 200 to 300 people at a wedding, and so you know you're going to get references if you do a really good job, if your performance is good, if you come into it like really on the ball, and you treat your clients well. You can go from having that one wedding turn into 10 weddings, because
Yes.
especially because um, depending on your age range and your age group, there's usually the first person that contacts you usually has at least one other friend, if not two other friends, sometimes a handful of friends even, that are getting married within a short period of time
Yes.
from them. So you're like, oh, you know, hey, my wedding photographer did such a great job, just check him out. And so you build kind of that clientele, and it really ramps up quite quickly.
Yes.
So it's one of those things that can really like build your portfolio quite quickly. And wedding photography really has that versatility that can get you in the right markets at the right time pretty darn quickly.
Yeah. But one thing I noticed that because I did some weddings, and if you just do like a free wedding and you just accept whatever, in the end of the day, is the most important thing is the quality of the photos that you're going to get.
Absolutely.
It's not all about also the networking. Networking plays a big part of it, but the other part is the quality of the photos. So if the photo, like if you just capture like the bride, but if the people that you're capturing photos of, they are not photogenic, and you cannot use the photos as portfolios, because not all, unfortunately, it's reality. Like not all wedding couples are models or beautiful, and in the end, the photos won't come
I
like
I
like you cannot use those photos for other
I
purposes.
understand that.
Yeah,
I have a tendency to disagree a little bit. I mean, there's kind of two camps.
yeah.
I know some wedding photographers that are at a point now where they're like, I just want to build my portfolio. I will generally, these wedding photographers have years of experience,
Yes.
sometimes at least a decade of experience, and are at a point where they're like, I'm open to limiting the number of weddings because weddings are extremely tiring.
Yes.
I know some people that do upwards of 60 weddings a year, and truthfully, I don't know how they do it. Um, but they're burnt out by the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are other photographers that I know that say, yeah, no, I'm stick to about 10, 15 weddings a season. And that seems like a bit of a healthier amount. But yeah, that's the thing, right? Is some of these photographers with extended experience start to kind of shape their clientele a little bit and go, okay, well, I'm going to select certain clientele over others
Mm-hmm. So
for
you're
photogenic reasons.
yeah,
However,
yeah,
as a beginner photographer,
you have to just accept.
you accept what you can.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest with you, there are so many. I would not say that your clients are need to be photogenic or need to be of a certain look for it to be a portfolio photo. One of my favorite photos that I've ever taken was of a couple that wasn't particularly photogenic, but that just showed true like love and affection for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think really has a deeper impact in the ultimate
Image.
representation of the photo.
Yeah.
Um,
Because
and
you're sending a message of emotion. You're not sending a message of two models falling in love.
no, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think more importantly than ever, uh, especially in wedding photography, but I would say generally, you don't have to be the best photographer. I think this is something that I think there's a bit of a misconception in the world of photography that photographers who became the photographers that they are, who became as successful as they did, are amazing photographer or they're amazing photographers, but that are renowned world, like world changing photographers. No, most professional photographers who have made a living being photographers, and there are many. Depending on, like there are a handful of photographers that have become millionaires
Yeah.
being photographers. But I would say there are a lot of photographers that have managed to buy houses and live comfortably,
Make a living.
make a living
Yeah.
on photography.
Mm-hmm.
The six-figure photographer that we always hear about isn't something it is not as crazy as it sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it depends on your expenses and everything
Yeah.
else, but you could probably make a solid, 150, $200,000 a year as a business in terms of revenue, you know, as a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what you're making as profit, what you're taking in as you're the sole employee or the proprietor of the business is a different case.
Yeah.
But that's a different
Because
conversation
photography
entirely.
has a big expenses
Yeah,
when it comes to equipment and all that stuff.
right. The equipment, it's the depending on if you're in weddings, it's a lot of the times it's the add-ons, which quite frankly you should be charging a premium for to at least make a little bit of profit off of. But these are all costs, right?
Yeah.
So there are expenses,
Yeah.
the time, the energy, and so on. These factor into the ultimate, you can't take necessarily in peak wedding season, you don't really have the time, the opportunity cost, so to speak. You can't take during peak wedding season, you can't take the time to go and shoot a fashion contract, for
Mm-hmm.
example,
Mm-hmm.
because chances are you've done a Saturday wedding, maybe a Sunday wedding. If you're in the Jewish community, you may have shot a Thursday wedding. Um, and so you're kind of stuck. You're a little tired from 30 hours in two
Mm-hmm.
days,
Mm-hmm.
working roughly 30 hours in 2 days, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Big high energy. You got to be on your feet the whole day, and then you have to edit all these pictures.
Yeah.
Which now today with AI technology and all of that, it's a little bit easier, but even then can be costly.
Yeah. I
So
just
yeah,
yeah. So that's what we're talking. If someone wants to get ahead in the wedding, business and Some new beginner photographers being want to make a living, and then they turn up to wedding. But also there's a lot of opportunities in a lot of types of photography,
Yeah.
and there's product photography,
Hmm.
there's artistic expression like street photography, which I come in.
Yeah.
So you can make expositions, you can make books, and books. Some people who make like bestsellers as books,
Hmm.
and they sell books for thousands and thousands of copies, and they're very famous because of that.
Yeah.
And there's some photographers, they do expositions, and some pieces they sell for millions of dollars sometimes. And
Yeah.
so it depends also, and also photography, I feel that how much money, or like it's not about all about money, it's also photography in the beginning is an artistic expression
Yeah.
that a lot of people use it for other purposes, let's say.
Yeah.
And it has a very big commercial value, and
I
also it
agree.
has a very big like in the wedding industry, has a very big emotional value, because this is the moments that you're going to cherish and you're going to remember all your life, and
Yes.
going back to this moment, and you're going to open that images and see them again and again and relive the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I just wanted to add on the note of what you had mentioned earlier about building your portfolio at the beginning as a excuse me, as a wedding photographer. The big thing that people need to understand is it's not only are you building your portfolio, but you are building your character, your personality in, in a very customer service front facing way.
Hmm.
So at the end of the day, I would say more so than, finding the right clients, or, being having photogenic clients, and and having these unbelievable, photos that'll come with time.
Hmm.
M- the most important thing is to be present with your clients.
Hmm.
That I would say, at least in the wedding industry, but I could probably say that is something that
Like
across the board.
presence, like which kind of present? Like you're already present down there, so.
Yeah, well, present as in, yes, physically present, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, you want to be there, right?
Yeah,
If you want
exactly.
to get paid, you want to be there.
You don't
But
want to be late.
no, exactly. Don't be late. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Don't be late. But the big thing, honestly, more like, is just be genuinely nice.
Okay.
Like, just be a good person.
Like smiling, asking
Yeah,
questions, asking what the client wants,
yeah,
asking if the client, like when you're shooting, you stop and you ask them, are everything okay? Is there some
yep,
special demands you have? Is there something one special you want to do?
of
And
course,
and then also you're directing them, and also you let them direct to you too,
of
right?
course, yeah,
Both sides. It has to be both sides, because
exactly.
yeah, it's because when you start beginning, and also like I see even advanced photographers sometimes, they're like they think that they know all, and they and they stop asking the client what they want and what they feel like. But it's
Mm,
it's just that as you said, that welcoming personality, always asking questions, always making feel the client that he's engaging in the process. And this is like and also like this kind of people are starting paying wedding photographers as an experience more than the
yes,
photos, because if they want just the photos, they can capture it on their phones, and they can capture it with other devices, or they can purchase their own camera and capture it.
yeah,
But shooting with the wedding photographer, and the experience of a wedding photographer, of posing people, of directing people to make that amazing images, and also that communication, that lovely communication between the photographer and the clients, and make them feel comfortable. And that's like an amazing experience that people are
absolutely,
100% willing to pay. It's like going to a spa, you know.
yeah,
It's like some people, actually, there's a lot of big people in society, and this is like for the beginner photographer, it's a very good news, is that a lot of people in society, they feel thrilled or they feel excited and they feel absolutely astronomically happy when they hire a photographer,
Yeah,
and then they let that photographer take photos of them and make them pose, make them tell them like do this, do that, so the whole experience becomes like a package of happiness basically.
pretty much. And that's kind of your goal as a wedding photographer, at least. That's your goal. As you know, but again, you can apply this to almost any field in the sense that, like, you, as long as you are professional. And look, I've the reason why I'm saying it is because I've made the mistake
Yeah.
of not being not being professional
Mm-hmm.
towards not so much towards wedding clients, as
Mm-hmm.
I've always maintained a pretty strong level of professionalism.
Mm-hmm.
But it has happened in the past where I've dealt with um, clients where I've tried to break into the product photography industry, and I'd work with them, and it would be, there's a certain level of meticulousness that you have to have as a product photographer that um, requires a lot of repetition
Yes.
and attention to detail that
Yes.
as an early photographer I didn't have. So at a certain point, when you're providing revision over revision over revision, the client starts to kind of get frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to be, like, part of just being a photographer in general is being um just very good at providing your service.
Mm-hmm.
So
Or accepting criticism, let's say.
accepting criticism as well. I think that's a basic um characteristic, personality trait that everybody should
Mm-hmm.
have to be successful in any field.
Yeah.
Don't, like, if you're accepting criticism, or if you're in a team working environment,
Mm-hmm.
you will receive criticism,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a matter of not taking that personally.
Yes.
um so that takes time, to develop. uh but I would say, specifically as a photographer,
Mm-hmm.
you want to be able to kind of like get used to being organized and, on time for a lot of your projects, more so than taking amazing pictures.
Mm-hmm.
If you deliver your pictures on time, clients are way more forgiving
Mm-hmm.
for a mediocre picture on time than for an amazing picture a day late.
But also, like my personal experience showed me that it's very good, very understanding to have an open ear
Yeah.
and to listen to the clients what they're saying. But also, I think this is something that you will start cultivating by time as a photographer, and also, but all the way from the beginning, some people are just born with this artistic expression inside them.
Yeah.
So in the end of the day, and you can let society dictate a lot of things, you
Hmm.
know, but as an artist, as an artist, you want that you want them to you want them to listen to you too, you know. And also a lot of sometimes a lot of clients and a lot of people around you, also it depends where you're going to end up in the companies or industry and all that. A lot of jealousies out there, you
Yeah,
know.
of course.
And there's a lot of people that will just criticize you because just they just want to destroy you or something, you know. It's a very competitive world out there.
Yeah.
And it's basically like everybody on its own, right?
Hmm.
Just everybody's on his own and everybody's just competing against each other. That's kind of a
Yeah.
world we live in, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but what I want to say to the people watching is that you don't want to always listen to the negative voice,
Right.
because most people, 99%, they don't have anything positive to say. Like they just always criticizing. And this is but as an artist, as a photographer, as a human being, and first of all, you have to know inside your head, and you have to cultivate that, and it doesn't come first day, of course.
Oh, of
But
course.
you have to know that if this client is bluffing, or if it's just like because he wants a discount, because in this business, you know how it works. Like a lot of people, they will come at you and they will tell you, we don't like your photos, we don't like this, we don't like that, so we need a discount, or we need the photos for free, or we need your service for free. It
Mhm.
happens a lot
Well, yeah, for sure. So that's something that we can actually add, right? That's something
from the
as a beginner.
beginning.
Yeah, as a
Yeah,
beginner photographer,
to make the
I
contracts.
if you're yeah, if you're gonna be if you are as a beginner photographer, get used to shooting. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
But if you're already at the stage, because now we're assuming, I guess, we're not talking to beginner photographers, we're talking to beginner professional photographers, right?
And actually, not really, because a lot of beginner photographers, they will capture some gigs.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I
like
get that.
a lot of companies, or a lot of people, the family, friends, and also people, like they need a wedding, and they sometimes they don't need like a professional photographer, so they
Right.
would just like, whatever, whoever, whatever, who captures, who has a camera, let's hire them.
Right.
So I'm just saying that you have to be careful. Like, if you want to make money with this, you have to have the contracts ready. You have to
So
have some paperwork doing all the way from the beginning of your career.
that I yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say that you need contracts or like legal advice, but at the very least, if you're going to be working in the industry, if you're going to be getting paid for your photography,
Yeah.
get paid up front.
Yeah.
Maybe not the whole thing, but
Yeah.
at the very least, get covered for the work that you did.
Yeah,
You can
exactly.
do a 50-50 in terms of what's the word? You can get a deposit.
Mm-hmm.
So at the very least, the work that you did is covered.
Yeah.
I actually it happened to me recently with a contract where I shot for I shot for a company,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a deposit up front, and they were like, we don't really do deposits. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm sorry, you're gonna be doing a deposit.
Yeah.
Uh, Specifically because, first of all, I knew the company that I was working with, and they had a bit of a reputation to not, you know, to kind of skirt around the rules a little bit in terms of payment.
Yeah.
So I prepared myself in advance, and I wrote them an email, and I made it very clear from the beginning, hey, I don't lift a finger without this this amount of money as a deposit.
Mm-hmm.
I am not moving my camera
Mm-hmm.
from out of my home until I've received this amount of money.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
from there, that's when afterwards they had you know they we shot everything. Actually, it turned out to be a bit of a failed project because they didn't end up liking all the pictures that we shot with, or that we shot, and
Also, you have to ask the question why the client is not liking
of
a
course,
particular thing.
yeah, and
The biggest question is why someone doesn't like something.
yeah,
That's the biggest question. And actually, yesterday I was watching a documentary
hmm
about, it's amazing documentary. Right now it's on Amazon.
yeah.
Let me just
What's
come up the name. Yeah,
yeah? Because I might check it out.
yeah, it's amazing. This thing,
Okay,
it's going to change your life.
but I mean, just to add to that,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Like so kind of the point that I'm trying to make is get paid up front. Get it in writing that
Hmm.
you are gonna get paid up front. Uh,
Yeah.
to avoid exactly that. To avoid clients being like, "Hey, we don't like your pictures. Can you give them to us for free?" It's like that's don't do free work, or try to avoid doing free work. The only people you should do free work for, at least in the wedding industry, are for friends and family. If you really feel like you're not at a comfortable stage where you can be asking for money
Hmm.
for work. I had a buddy of mine contact me earlier this year and
Hmm.
asked me, "Oh, hey, can you shoot?" my wedding. And I was like, yeah, sure, I could give you a discount, but I'm not
Yeah,
going to do it for free.
of course,
Unfortunately,
of
that's,
course.
I'm at a point now where, I mean, I could technically do it for free, but with the equipment that I have and the insurance that I have to pay for my equipment, and, you know, quite frankly, the possibility of having another opportunity elsewhere. I mean, he's a great guy. He's not in my very tight circle. He's a nice guy, but
Yeah.
ultimately, it's like, in the same way that if I was asking you for a service, you would expect to get paid. You know, I,
Yes.
I mean,
Actually,
it's
this world turn
yeah.
around with money. It doesn't turn around
Look,
with just like happy talking.
yeah, exactly. With pats on the back. No, I
Yeah,
agree,
exactly.
and that's the reality, right? Is like,
Because we all need to pay the bills,
yeah,
and we have expenses to cover, and also the most
mhm,
important thing is about time.
yes,
You're dedicating 8 hours,
eight. Let's say minimum 8 hours
minimum 8 hours. Like
on the
second,
day.
yeah.
That doesn't even include all the, like, the editing,
So
the
the whole
selection, or
15
whatever.
hours we're talking
Roughly, yeah. Let's
minimum.
say let's say 2 work days worth, so about
Exactly. So
16 hours.
16 hours is really
No,
not
that's
a
it.
joke.
No,
It's
exactly.
not walk in the park, this thing.
No,
Like, as
exactly.
people think about it,
Yeah,
because a lot of people think about photography as having fun and enjoying your time, because most people pick up the camera when they go traveling,
right,
you know, and they go captures a photo of Eiffel Tower, one photo or two photos. They don't know the enormity of a wedding photography job,
right,
because for them they don't have that lens. They're
exactly.
not seeing the 16 hours of work. The
Right,
only thing they see is someone grabbing a camera and just putting in their face and capturing a couple of photos, and
that's it.
and feel that it seems that it's very easy. And also, it doesn't make it justice, because most wedding photographers are always smiling, always,
Right,
you know.
because it's your job.
Exactly, exactly. But
You
that,
literally can't be like, oh, hey,
yeah,
how's
exactly.
it going?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be your wedding photographer today. It's like, my wife just left me. Like, you
Yeah.
can't be doing that.
Yeah,
You just,
exactly.
you guys, that's not gonna get you more contracts.
No,
So
it's
yeah,
not.
what's this movie? Did you find it?
I can't find it. I'm
Fuck.
sorry. Yeah, so but I can talk about it, and you go to Amazon Movies,
Okay,
and once you're inside Amazon Movies, it's like on the
it's
top,
right at
right?
the top. It's
Yeah, it's
brand new.
brand new, yeah.
Okay, and what's it about exactly?
So the whole thing is so fascinating, and it's talking about the art industry.
Okay.
So basically, what happened in the last, let's say, 20, 30 years,
Yeah.
that the arts, so there's a after, let's say, the Baroque and all that, there's like a lot of abstract paintings.
Right.
So abstract paintings, like abstract art,
Mm.
abstract has become very popular after Andy Warhol.
Yeah.
So Andy Warhol popularized like modern art, and there's like Guggenheim Museum in New York. There's a lot of modern artists.
Yeah.
And after Warhol became super famous, and after he printed his art, actually, he was like not sitting painting one by one. He was actually just printing them,
Right.
and he's selling them with astronomical prices,
Mm-hmm.
and he made a fortune
Right.
because of that. And so many other artists, they're like, um, they're just like, there's money to be made.
Right.
So and also there's a lot of critics. They start talking too, that is this really art?
Okay. Because of the mass production of it, or because of
Many aspects of it.
Warhol's style of
Because
art,
some
which
because
was
some people,
ultimately.
not some people, there's a lot of critics, actually, a lot of art critics, they said that art became too easy to produce
Sure.
than it's and it shouldn't be that easy here, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah,
Like if you
yeah,
compare what art is being produced right now with what before artists used to do, and how much time they used to take to produce a one painting.
right. I mean, but that's all. I guess that's a question. Like, how does one define successful art? Right? You
Yeah,
know, is, is time taken to produce a photo or to produce a piece? Because we can include whatever film, music, and all of all of these things, right?
mm-hmm.
Into one into the term art. So
Yes,
it becomes a question of like, what are we, like what do we mean by like what's art? Is it I spent
exactly.
15 hours painting this painting,
Yeah,
or I it took me
2 hours.
2 hours to put together
Yeah, a
I don't know.
masterpiece.
Yeah, right. Uh, just because I'm using a camera and you're using a paintbrush doesn't mean that I'm not, like
Yeah.
doesn't mean that my art is less valuable than yours, right? Because
Hmm.
I'm coming from, uh, I could be coming from a background where my art, my life experiences are injected into the artwork that I've produced,
Of course, because they
right?
say the artist is the art.
Exactly. And
Yes.
that's the big thing, right? And that's the thing about Andy Warhol, right? Warhol specific. Sure, we could talk about the paint the soup can,
Yeah.
right? As the classic
Yeah.
piece. I don't know if you can you probably won't be able to put that up on the video, right? But
No, no.
okay.
Anything that is copyrighted, usually just
Okay.
we will talk about it, but
But anyways,
they can
you
search it
could,
out.
yeah, that's it. Yeah, you can
Yeah.
look it up.
The Campbell soup.
Campbell's soup, right?
Yeah.
It's the
It's a
classic
presenting.
Warhol piece,
Yeah,
right?
it's representing the industrial revolution, that we can produce so many cans so fast, and it's just on shelves,
Right.
and you look at it, and also like this new artists that are coming, after the let's say the Renaissance, after the modernism in general.
Mm.
It's very hard to explain the art.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, with postmodernism and
Exactly.
now I don't know what era we're in with art anymore, but
It's abstract arts.
okay. Uh,
Abstract, yeah.
okay. That's it. Well, that's it. So with these
So
new forms of
complicated
art,
to explain in the beginning.
yeah,
So in the documentary, actually, so the fascinating part of it is that right now, what's going on, that after Andy Warhol becomes super successful with his art, and so many people, so many critics, they said that maybe this is not so much work done, to become art, but so many people liked it, so many people are willing to pay for it,
Mm.
and then these pieces of art become assets.
Right.
So right now, we're in a time period that art is not art. Art just become a capital asset,
Yeah.
money. So rich people are buying art not for their in-
Artistic value.
intrinsic value.
Okay. Yeah.
They're buying it for the money,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And in the documentary, which is extremely fascinating, it shows that people buying these pieces of art for 20, $30 million, and this art goes directly to a storage unit,
Mm-hmm.
get closed in a vacuum room
Yeah.
with barcode on it, and it stays there forever.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It it defeats the purpose of art.
Exactly.
You know.
Art is being made to be seen,
Yeah.
right?
To be experienced, to
And
be
so yeah, the documentary was explaining that it's deformed to a medium,
yeah.
and deformed went to another realms, that it's not art anymore.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, so the world that we live in, it's all about the money, it's all
Right.
about the dollar.
Well, right.
Yeah.
So, kind of coming back to what we were saying about, you know, working as a beginner photographer is you want to, you know, you want to make sure that if you're doing this working as a beginner photographer,
Yeah.
if you don't want to be burnt out by it, if you don't want to give up, think, you know, pay your pay yourself first.
Yeah.
That's an old or old. It's yeah, whatever. It's a 25-year-old expression uh, from Robert Kiyosaki
Hmm.
in Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Check that book out. That's an awesome book.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, it's always make sure that you're getting paid first,
Yeah.
or as much as possible. Again, if you're really really new, like if you're like, oh, I just need something to shoot.
Hmm.
I mean, as a beginner photographer, you probably should, just shoot anything.
Yeah.
Literally,
Exactly.
like, whatever lens you have, if you have an object in your house, take a picture of it
Hmm.
and practice. I mean, that's literally how I started was I honestly, um I built my portfolio shooting uh things around my house. So the way I was able to get into a more professional environment working as a excuse me, as a product photographer, and then later on, or sorry, as a wedding photographer, and then later on as a product photographer. I mean, I got the opportunity to go to Europe with my family, and I shot.
Yeah.
I shot with the camera that my parents bought me the first
Yeah.
time, but afterwards, you know, I got to a point where it was like, okay, I have random objects around my house. I
Hmm.
have this light that I can use,
Yeah.
uh, and that's basically it. And I just, you know, uh, one of my favorite pictures that I ever shot. It's um, an Armani Exchange watch that I
Oh.
got as a gift. I think it's even a fake. Like I don't even think it's real. Um, I got it. I got it. And I was just like, I'm gonna put it down on this random shirt that I had.
Hmm.
A blue shirt. The face of the watch is blue, so
Hmm.
it has like that monochromatic look to it.
Yeah.
I used my desk lamp to shine a light on it, and then I just cranked the ISO up on my camera and I
Yeah.
shot. And sure, I spent a lot of time in Photoshop and Lightroom
Yeah.
balancing out the picture, but that picture's still, I think, on the front page of my website
Hmm.
because it's, I think, a very good representation of how little you need. For me personally, obviously, I try not to tell my clients this,
Yeah.
so hopefully my clients don't see don't see this video, I guess. But um, it really does indicate like how little you need in terms of budget
Hmm.
on your end as the photographer
Yeah.
to produce high end quality work.
Yeah.
Um, so just start shooting. I mean,
Yeah.
that you've heard it a million times, but it's honestly the truth. Just start shooting. And for those who are shooting already, get like get yourself paid first and
Yeah.
foremost.
Yeah.
Don't say, "Oh yeah, no, it's worth the exposure." No, it's never worth the exposure. It's
Yeah.
never worth the exposure. The headache that you're going to get yourself into is never worth the exposure because you could be spending that time, I don't know, working at a restaurant,
Yeah.
you know.
You have to use photography in the beginning as a hobby,
Yeah, of course.
and you have to have like another job or something.
Yeah.
And once you see that you're really getting clients and it's really getting traction and all that, then you can switch to photography as a full time.
Mhm.
I think that would be like the most wise, um, let's say, path
Yeah.
for beginner photographers. But in life in general, there is no one path, right?
Right.
There's multiple,
Mhm.
and each of one of us is different personality. And some people I can I can say there are a lot of people they're born photographers. So those people, they should think about it as a path in life by itself. Path of discovery, discovering themselves, and as a camera as a tool is really a nice way of discovering the world around you
Yeah,
and
sure.
appreciating the world around you.
Hmm.
And for a beginner photographer, it's a very nice way to do it. And
Yeah,
so one of the documentaries that I found, I think this is not the real one, but this is like something very similar. It's called Blurred Lines Inside the Art World.
okay.
The Blurred Lines Inside the Art World, available right now is Amazon Movies,
Okay.
and it's basically the same thing. It's showing that the art world has a dark side to it. It's
Yeah,
not
of
only
course.
it's not only very like the whole beauty thing and the artistic expression and all that. And artists, like there always will be artists. There
Yeah.
always will be people who like to express themselves. There, I feel also artists they are more sensitive than other people. Like they have,
Sure.
let's say like some people they're less sensitive, some people they're more sensitive. I
Hmm.
feel that artists are more sensitive to the nature around them,
True.
to the feelings of other people, to
Yeah.
emotions, and I feel that artists they are more transparent in general
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
normal people, and they understand themselves even better, and they're trying to express it. They're more expressive, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say so. I mean, of course
They're on a
they
journey.
they're right.
They're on a
But
journey of self-discovery, at least, because
yeah.
not most people they don't do that in life.
Mm,
Most people they don't go that deep, let's
right.
say, in their psychology, understanding of the world, understanding the intricacies of the world, understanding the complexities of the world, and also trying to explain it and show it to the other people in their art.
Right.
In their art, photography is art.
Of course.
It's
Yeah.
it's 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 one of the arts, and where I come from is the street photography. So
Yeah.
when it comes to street photography, so the people who wants to do a lot of street photography, I just want to open my notes here.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah,
So that's an important note to take into consideration, which is,
yeah,
of course, you come from more of a street photography
yeah,
background, and I would consider you more of an artistic photographer
yeah.
than I am. I'm more, I don't want to say mass production photographer. That seems kind of, like that cheapens the quality of my work, I guess, or not just my work, but the work of people who are in similar industries. But I think what is
More
nice.
functional.
Yeah, you know what, functional is the right word. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah. It's
Yesterday I was in a place.
not to
Uh,
say that street photography isn't functional, by the way. It's there
um,
there are its applications.
Actually,
Yeah.
like all art, this is like something in general in life is very good for everybody to understand.
Yeah.
Is that there's function and then there's beauty,
Yeah.
and the best place to be is between those two.
Yeah. But I wouldn't say that they're mutually exclusive. I think there are a lot of things that could be functionally beautiful.
Exactly, that's what
Right.
we try to do.
Yeah.
So in our art, and that's specifically true with clothes, because some clothes, like in the fashion industry, some clothes they're exclusively for beauty, like robes and
Yeah, of course.
wedding dresses,
Yeah.
exclusively for beauty, because you're going to wear it one time and you're just going to hang it in the drawer and that's it.
Yeah. True.
So it's made for a specific reason, to be beautiful, to be attractive, to be the center of attention of the whole
Yeah.
party, and that's fine.
Right.
But day to day, you cannot just wear it because it's going to be non-functional, because we cannot move with it, we cannot
Right.
run with it, we cannot
Yeah, it's heavy as
Go to
shit.
go to school with it.
Yeah, yeah. A wedding dress is heavy.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah.
So clothes, it has to be like most fashion designers, they study that this in school. They
Right.
study that's a big part of their studies, because a lot of artistic people, they come to the table with very crazy artistic ideas.
Right.
uh, we can tell them there's a word for that. um Very like futuristic, not futuristic, but
Yeah.
there's another word for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just
I
escaped my
can't yeah, I
memory.
can't think of the word right now. Shoot. No, I don't remember.
Yeah,
But yeah,
something.
I know
Yeah,
what you
yeah,
mean.
you know
The
what
minute you said futuristic, I was like, "Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying." It's not futuristic, but very much like uh,
unreal,
yeah, exactly.
unreal,
Unrealistic. Unrealistic, I
unrealistic.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unrealistic. But it's not unrealistic. It could happen.
Yeah, it's possible, but
Yeah,
it errs on it's kind of like toes the line between functional and
yeah,
non-functional, I guess.
exactly. So and then reality hits.
Yeah.
With the materials, with the budget. The big
Yeah.
part of it is the budget.
Of course.
And then the whole thing just collapses into
Yeah.
something very simple.
And to something very cheap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's because the budget is one thing, and the imagination of the human being is another.
Right. Yeah.
Because human beings were super imaginative. We
Of
can
course.
create things that nobody can even imagine.
Hmm.
And that's why you see a lot of diamonds, a lot of clothes that, like in fashion shows, catwalks, they
Right.
they do crazy stuff, but you never see someone walking in the street with it.
True.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But if you go to Florence, if you go to Venice, if you go to Rome, you will start seeing more. You will go to Paris, you will
Yeah.
see more people wearing those things in the streets. And then you see that artistic expression penetrating the streets,
Yeah.
and then from the streets it penetrates the architecture, and then from the architecture it starts to become the culture, and then from the culture the whole society becomes more artistic,
Right.
you know
Right.
and which is something amazing, and
Hmm.
which is something I wish personally to see more all around the world. You know,
Of
to
course.
see art to influence all parts of culture until politics. So until
Hmm.
politicians, instead of making wars and all that, they can build gardens
Yeah. That'd be nice.
and
Absolutely.
fountains
Yeah.
and schools and libraries and hospitals. You know, beautiful architecture,
Of
not
course.
just not just boxes.
Right.
You know,
For sure. I mean,
yeah,
that's a
fitting
very
the budget.
global. Right. Yeah. Fitting the budget, of course.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it
that's
is possible.
of course. I
Yeah,
mean, without a doubt, there's it's a very global way to look at art and
yeah,
its applications
yeah,
over time.
yeah. And
Um,
as a beginner photographer, um, they can think of it like that, because
yeah,
as an beginner photographer or beginner anything, a beginner artist, like you're an artist. You have some feeling inside you, that feeling that I want to do something. I want to do photography. I want to do create something.
yeah,
That's the feeling that starts, inside you, and moves and moves, and
yeah,
then it pushes you to do it.
hmm,
And you don't have to just make it sleep. You just have to let it go.
right,
And that's you have to give the permission to that artistic side to come out, because a lot of people, once they see that like artistic thing and they're growing inside them or something, they think that's weak, they think that's crooked, they think that's something not nice or not good, and it comes with the upbringing.
right,
A lot
yeah.
of a lot of families, they're very like box mind. I don't know like how to explain, but
No,
they,
I understand what you
you
mean.
have to
I
go, you have to work, you have to come home, you have to feed your family. Very functional,
right.
which
I
is nice.
it took a while. I mean, it took a while for me to convince my family that I think that was the direction that I wanted to go in. I
Exactly.
was 15 years old when I told my parents. I was like, oh, I think maybe I want to be a musician. And they were like, nah, pick something else. And I
you
was
don't
like,
you don't want to be a
you
musician.
don't want to be a musician. And I was like, I guess I don't want to be a musician.
The world doesn't need another musician. The
Right.
world needs another nurse or a
Yeah.
construction worker
That, well, I would say nurse or teacher,
and
especially,
a construction worker.
and construction workers for
because
sure.
because right now in Canada
True. Yeah. We're not.
we don't have handymen.
True.
We need plumbers, we need technicians, we need construction people, we need nurses.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we need. More than even imagine today's the statistics show that the modern world, let's say
Mm.
Europe, US, Canada, Australia, you know,
Hmm.
and the modern world needs more handymen than even IT people,
True.
because with AI, that taken care of, IT has been taken care of, and more you will see anything which electronics, AI will taken care of it. But
Yeah.
who is going to do the hard, sophisticated hand movements that the robot?
AI will.
I mean, it's we're very far away from it.
Yeah. Well, did you see the whole thing with the China robots?
Yeah, but yeah, I saw
We don't
that.
know.
I saw that, but that the way to manipulate things,
True.
we're
Yeah. There.
far away from that.
Yeah. It's not. It's not the
It's not given.
sophistication of the human structure, the human function is definitely like we're not quite there yet with
Hmm.
um
But
with
I think it's more
what's
a
the word?
technological. I think it's more a technological issue and also a more budget
It's
issue.
it's it's just
Budget,
manufacturing.
yeah,
Because I've seen like pretty. And yeah,
a
there
budget,
is
a
an
budget
aspect
issue,
of, yeah, budget issue mostly,
biggest
because I've
budget.
seen I've seen some pretty crazy stuff where
Me too. Me too. It's
I saw
crazy.
like a hand, like a prosthetic hand
Mm-hmm.
that was built entirely out of hydraulics,
Yeah.
so like water controlled pistons,
Yeah.
um that was really really good at, and it was about as close as it got to being human.
Yeah.
But imagine doing that on a mass scale. It would be extremely expensive,
Yeah. I
right?
think we
So
will get there one day.
yeah,
It's just
hopefully.
that right now we need more those people. Construction,
Yeah.
nursing, and all that. But for example, one of the things that I saw that is very crazy is that high-rise buildings.
Yeah.
So instead of calling all the construction people to come and do the foundation and do this and do that and then go to the next level and do it and like that, you can just have robots, sit on it, and they do it, and then it goes up. They do it, goes up. They do it,
Yeah.
and then the whole thing has been built. And then the only thing left is to do the cabling with the electricians,
True.
which is
Yeah.
very complicated. I don't think robots will be able to do that for now,
I
but
don't know.
building it like that, I think it's going to be very possible very soon.
True.
Yeah. But like that's far away from our subjects. But what I want to say for street photography is that streets, you just pick up the camera and you can go to the street, and you have to search for one thing, which is action.
Right.
And this applies for video and applies for photo.
Mm-hmm.
So for video, you have to search for movement, anything moving, anything exciting, you can capture it. And
Right.
when it comes to photo, you have to have that human element. You know,
Right.
you can capture a photo of a street by itself, which sometimes can be very beautiful. Of course, it depends which street you are, which location.
Right.
Some locations are beautiful by themselves, so depends on the location. But having that human element in it, and also showing weather, like showing the winter, showing the autumn, showing the spring, showing the change of colors, change of seasons, you
Yeah.
know, and it's very nice way to show it to people. And
Mm-hmm.
also like always, and this is something that even the professional photographers, they don't do, which is always, and this is always, you have to, when you go out of the house, you have to have your camera with you,
Right.
not the phone, the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Because the phone is nice, you can take it out and take a photo, but 99% of the time you won't do it. But carrying that camera is carrying that heavy weight on your neck or in a small bag, which I do. I just carry my camera in a small bag, and everywhere I go, I take with me. Even if it's like sometimes it's very cumbersome, even if it's going to make my movement not ergonomic, I'm going to get tired faster or something like this. But I always carry my camera with me.
Yeah.
It's like my cross. Like when I'm a Christian, when like they say in Christian religion that everyone has to carry their cross.
Right.
For photographer, you know, or you want to become a photographer, you want to improve yourself as a photographer, your cross is your camera.
Right.
And if you don't have your camera on you, really, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss that moment, capture that moment, and also it's not inspiring yourself to create. Once you have it on you, it's always going to tell you, take out the camera and shoot, take out the camera and shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot imagine what happens in real life is that sometimes you're out, and and this is like even for the people who are 9 to 5s, and there's a lot of 9 to 5s. Most 99% of people are 9 to 5s,
Yeah.
and some people they work from home, you know. But for the people who work from home, I suggest that you take a break, you go out, and you just walk around, with your camera, and I'm 100% sure you will have that accidental coincidence, nice, beautiful coincidence, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of
Uh,
course.
um, and you will have that moment, but you have to be willing to, every time you go out of the apartment, you have to carry that camera with you. You
Right.
have to put it on you. It has to be intentional,
Mm-hmm.
because if you miss that intentionality of it, you're going to miss the moments in the streets.
True.
And you cannot imagine how many times, like, um, me and my girlfriend, we go out, and the other day this really happened, this story. And I want to tell with you and with the audience that we just went out to check some sofas. So
Right.
we went out, we were checking some sofas, we want to change our sofa. And I was like, you know what, we're just going for sofa. I don't have to keep them. I don't have to take my camera with me.
Right.
Exactly. So I didn't take my camera with me. This is
Okay.
the one of the few days. Actually, like a lot of days I don't take, but let's be honest, even me, I don't follow this rule, but I try more and more,
Right. Yeah.
try to more and more to be more disciplined about it. So what happened that we just go out, and we cannot find this sofa in one spot, so we had to go to another spot and then another spot. So what happened that in the same day we changed 3 locations,
Okay.
and we went to 3 locations. And in these 3 locations, there's 3 corners, there's 3 streets, there's 3 people walking, there's things going on, and it was in the night, and the light was perfect. And I see this photos here, photo, but my camera is not with me.
Yeah.
So I pick up my phone, I capture with my phone, you know, I did what I can do with it. The quality is not what I want, because the quality of the camera is not the same as the quality
Of
of the
course.
phone. I did what I can do, but if I had the camera, oh my God,
Oh, of course.
I will be capturing, like, that day, I will be capturing at least 25, 30 photos.
I forgot who said it, but there is an expression that that the best camera a person can have is the one they have on them.
Exactly, yeah.
You know that, and that's the truth. Is like you don't need to spend $1 million on a camera. You don't need to spend, you don't have to go and get the next, the top quality camera, Sony A7 or A9 or whatever, Canon R5. Like you don't need to go and spend that money.
Hmm.
Get yourself a used camera.
Yeah.
You could find a Canon 5D Mark II for sale for like 300-400 bucks
Yeah.
on Facebook Marketplace,
Yeah.
and that's probably expensive.
If you have the money, I suggest if you have the money, you go and buy yourself a nice camera. But if you don't have the money, you can go buy
Just
yourself a
yeah,
used one.
exactly.
Yeah, but it depends on situation because also if they have the money and they buy the used
Yeah,
and then they have to change it, they will lose more money. So
right.
it's so for them, for someone who's starting, we'll talk about that even more after.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, look, honestly, start used. I don't think I've ever bought a new camera.
hmm,
Every camera that I bought was used.
okay,
And I've never had a problem.
okay,
I think first of all, most of the time you end up saving on taxes,
yeah,
and second of all, it's just you know it's a nice way to kind of connect with the community.
it's true, it's true.
I've all of my lenses are used,
Hmm.
but the amazing thing is that I've met amazing videographers
Hmm.
through that industry,
Yeah.
and um some photographers that were like, "Oh yeah, I used to shoot. I shot for like 30 years." The one guy that I bought my my telephoto lens
Hmm.
from was a photographer that had shot portraits for like 30 years, and he showed me some stuff, and I was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah.
Like you find these little gems of people,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that's what's fun. So I don't about getting used equipment. So I wouldn't say don't get used.
Hmm.
Just be a little more careful,
Yeah.
but don't be.
Also test the cameras before you
Oh
buy
yeah,
them.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Test everything that you
Yes.
get.
If you want to buy something expensive, you can rent it first.
Yeah,
uh,
rental
And
is always a good idea.
and
Yeah.
because every camera has its own personality, has its own
Mm-hmm.
quirks and its own pros and negatives.
Right.
So even if you see something on YouTube and the person on YouTube says this is the best camera in the world, and you have to test it by yourself because
Right.
because anything they say on YouTube is monetized, and they want to make money out of it. It could be they are paid, sponsored. So there's a lot of things going on.
True.
So yeah, so to be on the safe side and also to be you, because it's going to be part of extension of your body and stuff like that, you have to check it by yourself, and you have to see if it fits with your
Right.
personality, with your style of shooting, etc., etc.
Yeah. Yeah. That's ultimately what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. I've. I mean, there's a lot more we can talk about in terms of being a beginner photographer, and I think
Yeah.
it's something that we need to revisit because it's not like we kind of touched on a little bit of the um, the different industries,
Yes.
how to get into some of the industries. Wedding photography, just a reminder, wedding photography is a lot about networking.
Yes.
Photography in general is a lot about networking, but I would say wedding photography especially is a lot about networking.
Mm-hmm.
um, Building your portfolio is important, but not critical. You can still get some interesting contracts, early contracts, just by putting yourself out there, having a couple of pictures for sure, but
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, just putting yourself out there and really giving it your all when you really work for those contracts.
Yeah.
And then uh, realizing that photography is an art form that requires a certain amount of expression. So
Yes.
you got to feel comfortable working in that
Yes.
industry and doing it for your own pleasure and not necessarily because you think you'll make a bunch of money off of
Yes. And I want to close this episode with what Bob Ross says. And because I love Bob Ross,
it. Yeah.
and he says that there's no mistakes, it's only happy coincidences.
Right.
And when you want to become an artist, you want to become a photographer, which is a form of art. And also you can extend one day if you want. You can paint, you can write poets, you can play music. It's all connected. These things are all very connected. If you want to become in the artistic world, you have to understand that mistakes are part of the journey. Actually, mistakes are the journey.
Right,
It's not
exactly.
part of they are the journey.
Right,
And if you stop making mistakes, it means that you're not trying something new.
exactly.
You're
No,
not you're
that's
not innovating.
mhm,
You're just repeating.
right.
Because if and then this is something that even like more seasoned photographers or seasoned artists, they fail because they become like a broken cassette after a while, like they become like so accustomed in their way of doing things, and in the way they do things and all that, so they stop trying something new because this works, don't fix it,
Right,
right? But if you want to innovate, you have to make mistakes, and if you're not making mistakes, it means that you're not innovating, you're not trying something new. So I say to all the new photographers out there, always try something new, always stay creative, always stay hungry.
yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, and we close this one on these words, and see you on the next one.
All right.